Welcome to another podcast of the Riffle series. The Riffle podcast series brought to you by 10 Leaves.
It is great to be back diving into this stuff today.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because today we're standing at this really interesting intersection. You know, if you just look out the window in Dubai, you see the physical reality, right?
Yeah.
The Burj Khalifa, the cranes, all these massive developments.
Right, the concrete and steel.
Exactly, just the sheer weight of traditional real estate. But there is this whole other layer being built right on top of it. It's invisible, it's digital, and it moves at the speed of light.
You're talking about the digital frontier, virtual assets.
I am. It is the collision of concrete and code. And usually when those two worlds meet, it's a bit of a car crash.
Yeah.
You get the hype, you get confusion,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, you get people losing money.
Yeah, that's historically how it goes.
But what we are looking at today for this deep dive
Well,
is an attempt to put traffic lights at that intersection. We are digging into a very specific and, frankly, very timely document.
right. This is the Consumer and Marketplace Alert. It was issued by VARA, the Dubai Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. And, I mean, we should probably note the date here because things in this space move incredibly fast.
Oh, absolutely.
This alert came out mid-February, specifically around the 18th and 19th of February, 2026.
So this is fresh. This is an ancient history we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is a breaking update on exactly how Dubai is handling the tokenization of property right now.
And it is not just a standard press release cheering for innovation or whatever. It's actually a regulatory State of the Union. It draws a very sharp line in the sand.
Right.
It tells us exactly where the hype cycle ends and the legal reality actually begins.
Which is really our mission for this deep dive. We're going to parse the difference between what the marketing brochures might say is happening and what VAR is actually allowing to happen right now.
Because there's a gap.
A huge gap. And for you, the listener, specifically, if you are looking to invest that gap, is where the danger lies.
It is. So the core of this update is really about the transition from Phase 1 to Phase 2 of Dubai's Real Estate Tokenization Pilot.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because pilot program can sound a bit experimentally, almost theoretical. But the source says Phase 1 is done. So what actually happened? Did they just write some white papers and high-five each other, or did they actually build something?
No, they built it. This was much more than just a theoretical exercise or a whiteboard session. VAR has explicitly confirmed that the initial pilot phase is complete. And the language they use in the alert is very specific. They say Phase 1 validated 3 things: the core technological architecture, the regulatory framework, and operational feasibility.
Operational feasibility. I want to stop on that phrase for a second because that sounds like regulator speak for the plumbing actually works.
That's a perfect way to put it. In the crypto space, we see a lot of these proof of concepts where the tech works in a vacuum. You click a button and a token moves from wallet A to wallet B.
Right. Easy.
Great. But operational feasibility in the context of real estate means something much, much harder.
Because you're dealing with physical buildings.
Exactly. It means they didn't just prove the code works. They proved that you can take a physical asset, like a unit in a building, represent it as a token, and have the legal rules wrap around it effectively within the Dubai ecosystem. It wasn't just a paper test.
They proved the tech and the rules work together.
Yeah.
Which is a huge milestone.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past we've seen projects that were legally shaky but technically sound, or legally sound, but the tech was a mess. This implies the engine is built and the engine runs.
The engine runs. But, and here's where it gets really interesting and where you really need to lean in, just because the engine runs doesn't mean they are opening the highway to everyone just yet.
Which brings us to Phase 2. Because the alert says the initiative has now entered a controlled testing and evaluation phase.
Right, controlled testing.
So if Phase 1 was, can we build it? What is the main goal of Phase 2?
Phase 2 is essentially, how do we trade it? If you look closely at the text of the alert, there is a specific mention of secondary market mechanisms.
Ah, the secondary market. That is the holy grail of tokenization, isn't it?
It really is. Phase 1 proves you can create the token. That's issuance. You buy it, you hold it. But the massive value proposition of tokenizing real estate has always been liquidity. The idea that I can sell my fraction of an apartment as easily as I sell a stock on an app.
Right. And that trading happens on the secondary market.
Exactly. And the source explicitly states that Phase 2 is assessing these functionalities.
So they are figuring out how people might actually swap these tokens after they buy them.
Correct. But notice the extreme caution in the text. It doesn't say trading is now open. It says they are determining the appropriate scope sequencing and conditions for any future expansions.
Scope sequencing and conditions. That sounds very careful.
It's incredibly careful, and honestly, it should be. Think about it. Real estate is inherently illiquid. It takes months to sell a house. You need inspections agents, title transfers.
Right, it's a whole process.
Yeah. If you suddenly make it instant, you are fundamentally changing the asset class. So phase 2 is about testing if that market mechanism can actually function safely without crashing the market or enabling money laundering.
So they are trying to avoid a scenario where liquidity dries up instantly or where people get scammed in a Wild West trading environment.
Exactly. They are testing the guardrails. They are saying, we know we can make the token. Now can we let people trade it without breaking the economy?
So just to recap for the listener really quickly, phase 1 is complete. The tech and legal basis for creating the token works. Phase 2 is active right now. That's testing the trading in the secondary markets. This all sounds very positive, measured but positive.
It is positive progress.
However, the document we're reading is titled A Consumer and Marketplace Alert. It is not a victory lap. It is a warning. Why did VARA feel the need to release this specific warning right now?
Because where there is innovation, there's almost always opportunism. VAR noticed a specific problem that was starting to bubble up. There are entities out there referencing this initiative, the Real Estate Tokenization Pilot, in their marketing materials without permission.
So companies are just slapping part of the VARA pilot on their websites when they aren't actually involved.
It's even more subtle than that, which is why it's so dangerous. The alert specifically mentions informal communications.
Oh, that's interesting. Informal communication.
Yeah. This isn't necessarily about a massive billboard on Sheikh Zayed Road that the police can see and take down. This is about what a sales representative might be whispering to you at a networking event, or a message dropped into a Telegram group, or a WhatsApp forward.
A whisper network.
Exactly. The alert says entities are implying participation beyond what has been formally authorized.
That is sneaky. So they might say, hey, invest in our tokenized condo. We're totally in line with that new VAR pilot everyone is talking about, but actually have no approval whatsoever.
Precisely. They are drafting off the credibility of the regulator. And for a listener specifically, someone looking to invest, that is a massive red flag. VARI is being very clear here. Any promotion or solicitation for tokenized real estate in Dubai that isn't duly authorized should be treated with caution.
Treated with caution is polite regulator language for don't give them your money until you check right.
Pretty much. It's a reminder that just because a pilot exists, it doesn't mean every project you see is part of it. In fact, right now, since it's a pilot, the vast majority represent unauthorized activity.
So let's role play this for a second. I am that listener. I'm enthusiastic about tech. I see a cool project promising me fractional ownership of a luxury villa on the Palm. The website looks slick. The white paper mentions Dubai laws. How do I actually know if it's legit? What is the legal framework I should be looking for?
Well, the alert actually cites the specific legislation, which is really helpful if you want to dig into the fine print. We are looking at Dubai Law 4 of 2022 and Cabinet Resolution No. 11-1-2022.
Okay, I'm probably not going to memorize those statute numbers, but what is the core rule they establish?
The rule is simple and absolute. No person can carry out virtual asset activities in or from Dubai without a license from VAR. Period.
So no exceptions.
No exceptions. There is no gray area where you can sort of operate because you are just testing or just in beta. If you are marketing to people in Dubai, you need a license.
That seems straightforward. But I did notice a specific exclusion in the text regarding jurisdiction. It mentions the DIFC. Can you clear that up? Because for people outside Dubai or even some people living here, the distinction between Dubai and the DIFC can be pretty confusing.
It is crucial to understand this. Dubai effectively has two different jurisdictions for financial regulations. You have mainland Dubai, which includes most of the city and many free zones, and you have the DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Center.
Which is like a financial enclave.
Correct. The DIFC has its own legal system based on English common law and its own regulator, the DFSA. The source clarifies that VARA is the authority for Dubai, excluding the DIFC.
Okay, so if I see a company operating out of the DIFC, this specific VARA alert might not apply to them in the same way.
Correct. They would be subject to DFSA rules. But if a company is on the mainland or in other free zones like DMCC or Silicon Oasis, they fall squarely under VARA. This alert is telling you to know who you are dealing with and where they are based. Don't assume that just because they are in Dubai geographically, they are under the same regulator.
Okay, so we know the law says they need a license. But practically speaking, I'm not going to go read the cabinet resolution before I invest. Is there a check your work step for the average investor? A quick way to spot the fakes?
Yes, and VIRA provides a very specific tool for this. The source advises every investor to verify the regulatory status of a firm via VRA Public Register.
Is that online?
It is. It's a public database on their website. You can look up the company name. If they aren't there, walk away.
What if they are there, but the license looks different? Like maybe it's for something else?
That is a great question. You need to check if their license type actually matches what they are selling, if they are licensed for advisory, meaning they can give advice, but they are asking to hold your money or issue a token that's a mismatch. That is a red flag.
They have highly actionable advice right there. Check the public register. And they also give a contact for reporting, right?
They do. If you spot someone making these informal claims or operating without a license, the email provided is veraconnect@vara.ae. They are actively asking the community to be their eyes and ears.
Which makes total sense. Regulators can't be in every private Discord server or Telegram group. They need the users to report the bad actors to keep the ecosystem clean.
Exactly. Regulation in the digital age is definitely a team sport.
I want to zoom out a bit. We've talked about the pilot, the warning, and the law. But there is another player mentioned in this text that I think is really significant, the DLD, the Dubai Land Department.
Yes. This is arguably the most important strategic piece of the puzzle. The text explicitly mentions continued coordination between DLD and VARA.
Why is that partnership so vital? Why can't VARA just handle the crypto stuff and let DLD handle the buildings?
Because of the very nature of what a real estate token is. It is a digital representation of a physical asset. VARA regulates the digital part, the token, the exchange, the wallet. But DLD regulates the physical part, the title deed, the actual ownership rights of the land.
Right. You can't have a valid token if the underlying land ownership isn't legally recognized.
Exactly. If those two regulators aren't talking to each other, you end up with a mess. Imagine you buy a token that claims to own an apartment. The blockchain says you own it. But if you go to the land department and their database says, we don't know who you are, then you own nothing.
You literally own a receipt for a house that the government doesn't think is yours.
Correct. That is why previous attempts at this in other parts of the world have struggled so much. The digital record and the physical record were disconnected. The fact that this alert says DLD and VRA are working in lockstep, that they are fully aligned, is what gives this pilot actual credibility.
It's bridging the gap between the old world and the new world. It's making sure the digital twin matches the physical reality.
And it speaks to the broader vision mentioned in the source. Dubai isn't just trying to allow this as a niche experiment. They want to establish a global benchmark for regulated, real-world asset tokenization.
That phrase, global benchmark, really stands out in the text. They want to be the model everyone else copies.
And to do that, they have to get it right. They are prioritizing strong governance, investor protection, and market integrity. They cannot afford a scandal. That is why you see adjectives in the text like measured, transparent, and responsible.
It is a stark contrast to the early days of crypto, isn't it? That whole move fast and break things mentality.
Move fast and break things doesn't work when you are talking about people's homes or major commercial investments. You break a software update, you patch it, you break a property title deed system, you have a legal catastrophe that could last for decades.
That is a brilliant point. You can't just patch a property dispute caused by a bad smart contract.
No. And that explains the pace. Some people in the industry might feel it's moving slowly. They want to trade tokens right now. But this alert confirms it's moving deliberately. Phase 1 proved to tech. Phase 2 is testing the market dynamics. They are building the foundation before they build the skyscraper, to use a real estate metaphor.
I love a good metaphor. So let's speculate a little bit based on the text, specifically regarding that secondary market testing in Phase 2. If they crack that code, if they successfully regulate the trading of real estate tokens, what does that actually change for the average person?
It changes the fundamental nature of the asset class. Think about it. Real estate is the largest asset class in the world, worth trillions. But it's stuck in slow motion. It is highly illiquid.
You park your money there and you leave it for 10 years.
Right. But if you can trade it like a stock, if you can sell 5% of your apartment on a Tuesday because you need cash for a medical bill, or if you can buy $500 worth of a commercial tower, you unlock trillions of dollars of value that is currently locked in concrete.
It turns the city itself into a liquid financial market.
It does. But that brings huge risks. Does real estate become volatile? Do we start seeing flash crashes in apartment prices because of a panic sell on the token market?
Wow. I hadn't even thought about that. You wake up and your apartment is down 20% because of a tweet, then back up by lunch.
That is exactly why VARA is doing controlled testing in phase 2. They need to see if trading creates volatility that spills over into the real housing market. They do not want a token crash to cause a housing crisis.
That makes the caution in this alert makes so much more sense. It's not just about protecting me from a scammer on Telegram. It's about protecting the stability of the housing market itself.
Precisely. The stakes truly couldn't be higher.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now, if we had to synthesize this update into a final takeaway?
The takeaway is progress is happening, but protection is paramount. The TechWorks Phase 1 proved that. The regulatory framework is active. But the market creates hype that outpaces reality.
So don't get FOMO and buy a token just because a guy in a suit told you it's the next big thing.
Correct. If they claim they are part of the pilot, check the register. If they claim they can offer you instant liquidity right now, ask yourself if that mechanism has actually been approved for the secondary market yet, because the alert clearly says Phase 2 is still determining the scope of that.
It's really about being a smart consumer. The technology is exciting, but the rules are there for a reason.
And remember, VARA is putting this alert out to protect you. They aren't trying to stifle the innovation. They are trying to clear the weeds so the actual innovation can grow without being choked by scams.
That's a great way to put it. We are seeing the maturation of the industry. It's no longer the Wild West. It's becoming a regulated modern city.
A regulated modern city where digital assets and physical land are finally starting to speak the same language.
So Phase 1 is in the books. Phase 2 is underway. We've got the land department and the virtual assets regulator holding hands. It feels like 2026 is going to be a pivotal year for this.
I think so. The fact that they are publicly announcing the completion of Phase 1 and the start of Phase 2 signals confidence. They are ready to talk about it, even if they are still issuing warnings about the unauthorized players.
Well, on that note, we are going to leave you to ponder the future of your own apartment. If we successfully establish this secondary market and crack the liquidity code for the world's largest asset class, what happens when you can flash crash a house? Could your property be a token one day, experiencing the highs and lows of daily trading? Maybe sooner than you think, provided the regulators give the green light.
Just check the register first.
Always check the register. That is the mantra for today. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the VARA Real Estate Tokenization Pilot. It's a developing story, and we will be keeping a close eye on how Phase 2 plays out.
Absolutely. Stay curious and stay informed.
See you in the next one.
Bye.